What happens when a game show host breaks every rule in the book? When a moment on national television stops being about winning and becomes about something far bigger than any game could ever be? Steve Harvey, in an unprecedented move, dropped his microphone mid-joke, walked off the stage, and embraced a father who was on the verge of falling apart. The cameras kept rolling, but the game had come to a screeching halt. And nobody, either in the studio or at home, could have predicted what was about to unfold. It all started like any other episode of Family Feud. Two families, bright lights, quick answers, and Steve Harvey doing what he does best, making the audience laugh. The Thompson family from Ohio was up against the Martinez family from Texas. It was a standard setup, standard game. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Michael Thompson, a 42-year-old father of three, stood at the podium wearing a simple blue polo shirt, a shirt that looked like it belonged to any dad at a weekend soccer game. But something wasn't right. His hands clutched the podium a little too tightly, and his smile felt more forced than genuine. Steve Harvey launched into his usual banter. We surveyed 100 people. Top 7 answers on the board. Name something a father does to make his children proud. It was a question so simple, so heartwarming, that it could have been lifted straight from a feel-good family TV show. But Steve didn't know that Michael Thompson wasn't playing for just the money or the victory. He was playing for something much more personal, something much bigger than any game show could contain. Michael pressed the buzzer, his voice trembling. Provides for them. His answer echoed in the studio. It was the #1 response. The crowd cheered. Another Family Feud moment right on track. But then Steve, ever the professional, walked over to Michael with a casual, "So, tell us about your family, man. What do you do?" Michael opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. His smile disappeared, and in front of millions of viewers, the father began to cry. The studio froze. In that moment, Steve Harvey, the man who's faced all kinds of situations with humor and quick wit, did something that none of the producers or writers could have scripted. He didn't keep up the banter. He didn't crack a joke. He dropped the microphone, set down his card, and walked across the stage. No one told him to do this. No one gave him a cue. It was all human instinct. Cut to commercial, Steve said, breaking all protocols of live television. But he didn't wait for their response. He was already walking toward Michael. Steve wrapped his arms around Michael right there on the stage. The cameras kept rolling, but the crew was in chaos. Steve, in his perfectly tailored suit, whispered softly, "Talk to me, brother. What's going on?" Michael couldn't even finish his sentence, his voice breaking as he fought to speak. "My daughter. She's..." And that was when Steve Harvey, who made his living making people laugh, felt the weight of the moment. He held Michael tighter and said, "Take your time, brother. We've got all day. This game doesn't matter. You matter." In the silence that followed, the studio audience held its collective breath. The Martinez family, the competition just moments before, stepped away from their podium and moved closer to Michael. The game no longer existed. Steve Harvey held Michael's shoulders, looking him in the eyes. "Take your time. This game doesn't matter." Michael's voice trembled again. "My daughter Emma, she's 9. She has leukemia. We've been fighting it for 2 years now. Last week, the doctor said, they're running out of options." A ripple of gasps echoed through the studio. Several audience members were openly crying now. Michael, breaking into sobs, continued, "She made me promise. She made me promise I'd come here. She loves this show. She watches it every day during her treatments. She said, 'Daddy, go win money so we can take a vacation before..." He couldn't finish. Steve Harvey's face softened, tears filling his eyes. The man known for making America laugh was now choking back his own emotions. He turned to the cameras. "Emma, if you're watching, I want you to know something. Your daddy is the bravest man I've ever met, and you are the strongest little girl in the world." And then, in a moment that no one saw coming, Steve Harvey did something unprecedented. He removed his jacket, the very jacket that had become his trademark, and draped it over Michael's shoulders. "This is for Emma," Steve said, his voice steady. "You take this home to her. You tell her Steve Harvey says she's a champion. When she wears this jacket, she's wearing the armor of everyone who loves her." The audience jumped to their feet in thunderous applause, mixed with tears. But Steve wasn't done yet. He pulled out his personal business card. "Michael, you listening to me? This is my personal number. Not my agent's, not my manager's, mine. You call me. You call me with updates. You call me when you need anything. Understand? Michael nodded, speechless, clutching the jacket and the card. And that's when Steve Harvey made a promise to both families. We're not playing this game today. This family already won. You understand? They already won. He looked at the Martinez family. The father, with tears in his eyes, walked across the stage and embraced Michael. The rest of the Martinez family joined in. Two families who minutes ago were competing were now standing together in a group hug, sharing love, compassion, and solidarity. Steve stood with them, his arm around Michael. Behind the scenes, producers were scrambling, but Steve didn't care about the show anymore. We're giving both families the maximum prize money, he said, breaking all the rules. I don't care what the rules say. Make it happen. He turned to Michael again. And that's not coming from the show's budget. That's coming from me personally. You use that money for Emma. You use it for treatments. You make memories with your family. You understand? The audience erupted in applause, a standing ovation that lasted 5 full minutes. After the camera stopped rolling, Steve stayed by Michael's side for another half hour. He prayed with him. He personally called his contacts in hospitals and connected Michael with life-saving specialists. The Martinez family even offered their help. One of them worked for a pharmaceutical company, and he immediately started reaching out about experimental treatments. 3 weeks later, Emma was accepted into an experimental treatment program. The pharmaceutical company had fast-tracked her application. And Steve's jacket, it went with Emma to every treatment. She called it her superhero cape. 6 months later, Emma's cancer went into remission, and Steve visited her in the hospital. The Family Feud crew filmed a special episode just for her, bringing joy to every child in the ward. This episode became the most watched in Family Feud history, but more importantly, it sparked a movement. The hospital received over $3 million in donations. A new program offering free experimental treatments for children was announced. Steve Harvey established the Emma's Warriors Foundation to help families dealing with childhood cancer. And Michael Thompson still carries Steve's business card in his wallet, using it to help other families going through similar struggles. This moment, this act of compassion wasn't about the game or the money. It was about human connection. It was about stopping everything to help someone in need. The jacket still hangs in the hospital where Emma was treated. It's a symbol of hope for children fighting cancer, a reminder that sometimes in our darkest moments, a stranger might just stop everything to help us. If you believe in the power of kindness, if you believe that compassion can change lives, then share this story. Remember, it's not about the game. It's about what happens when we choose to stop, see, and help. Steve Harvey didn't just stop a game show that day. He started something that will live on forever. Don't let this story be forgotten.